Good evening and welcome to the September 20th, 2022 special council meeting, and I'm calling it to order at 6 p.m. At this time, I'd like to confirm the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda that are emergent from any of the councilors or administration? Seeing and hearing none, then I'm looking for a motion for that. Deputy Mayor Peterson.
Your Worship, I would move that Council adopt the September 20th, 2022 special council meeting agenda as presented.
Thank you, and I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And that brings us to our only item of business, 3.1, the reallocation of capital funds for the Aquatic Center heat exchanger. And Mark, you're speaking on this. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Council, for making time for this special meeting today. As per the briefing notes that you all received, during the annual shutdown of the Aquatic Center, staff observed some mechanical issues that have impacted the pool's reopening plan. At the time, staff observed some glycol water leak that was fortunately was discovered during the shutdown period, as it did not impact public or even the pool's circulated water. After a thorough investigation, staff and contractors confirmed that the cause of this leak was a compromised heat exchanger. And for those who aren't aware, the heat exchanger is an essential component of the pool's mechanical system, as it heats the water using hot water from the boilers. Without a functioning heat exchanger, the pool water temperature would be approximately 5 degrees and the pool would not be operational. The pool's existing, this compromised heat exchanger is approximately 20 years old and was a part of the original construction. Unfortunately, a new model similar to the existing one that we have, it needs to be manufactured, and receiving updates this morning or just yesterday is approximately a 50-week time frame and a cost of about $25,000, not including taxes and delivery. During our endeavors to try to find options to maintain our service level and service to the community, through the pool network of connections, we have an option of upgrading from a shell and tube heat exchanger to a frame and plate. This frame and plate technology is actually somewhat new, newer than the shell and tube, and actually is somewhat better for repairs and maintenance, as the individual plates can be replaced and repaired, as opposed to the shell and tube style where the entire unit needs to be replaced if it's compromised. At this time, estimates for for delivery of this frame and plate heat exchanger are approximately 2 to 4 weeks, and at a cost of about $20,000. Staff have also done some additional research to open the pool a little bit sooner, but this involves using a retrofitted used heat exchanger from another facility. This heat exchanger is actually not even designed for pools. It's from a cooling tower and can be retrofitted to be utilized in a pool. The town would have to purchase this piece of equipment, retrofit it to the existing maintenance or the existing infrastructure of the pool, and then would be at some cost. There's also some potential concerns about where would it be located, because it's a lot bigger, because it's for an entire building as opposed to just a pool heat exchanger. So at this time, we would like to be looking at potential reallocation of some capital funds. As council is aware, they approved some funds for the repairs and maintenance of this steam sauna. That repairs and maintenance actually went well under budget. The repairs and maintenance needed was not as intensive as we initially planned, and so there's some cost savings there. Accordingly, administration is hoping to get council support to reallocate the savings from the capital plan for the steam sauna room for the purchase of this heat exchanger. That's the end of my presentation, Your Worship and Council. If there's any question, I'll be free to answer them.
Thank you, Mark. Questions from council? Councillor Wegener and then Councillor Langmaid.
Yeah, Mark, just one question. I mean, I've had some experience in past with heat exchangers and things like that. Now, is there any possible way that tubes can be plugged or anything to make this a quick fix and then possibly open up earlier? Or is that, is the exchanger too small for things like that?
Through the chair, Councilor Wagner, the existing plate exchanger, as I said, or sorry, the heat exchanger is 20 years old. We've encountered one leak, and that's what caused what staff observed. During pressure testing, there's a number of potential leaks that could be there. The shell and tube itself is starting to get thin, and that's what happens with wear over time. The recommendation from our contractor is that we explored other options.
Okay, that's fine. Now with this frame and plate, like it said, be easier to maintain, so you just replace plates as needed. Is it as effective as shell and tube, or is the efficiency and the effectiveness of them fairly similar?
Yes, again, through the chair, Council, that's one of the concerns we identified. And this is a new technology that, like I said, a lot of older pools are transferring to. We were able to, 20 years is a long time, but we were able to find the original specs for the heat exchanger at the pool. And we were able to circulate that to this, the proposed company that we'd be purchasing from. And they've assured us that it matches in both of its energy, its output, as well as its efficiency. So we envision once it's in and operational, that there would be no decrease in efficiencies.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wegener. Councillor Langmaid.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mark, I read here that the part that failed was 20 years old, part of the original construction. 20 years is a pretty good lifespan for something, but I'm curious, was there a lifespan identified for this piece of equipment, and did we meet that lifespan, or were we anticipating this to fail soon? Did we think we were going to get another 10 years? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, through the chair. I think Councillor Langmaid, answer your question. I think our asset management program, as you guys are aware, is somewhat in its infancy. This was identified by our staff, but the time frame for a heat exchanger from this capacity is go until it stops. The lifespan is approximately anywhere from 20 to 25 years. It was our goal then that we would hopefully get through this 1 more or 2 more years and be able to identify it as part of our asset management plan. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it failed, but it failed at the right time.
Excellent. That was my only question right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Langmaid. Question at home from Councillor Montgomery. Do you have a question?
Thank you. Not so much a question, actually. I just wanted to thank administration for their diligence as always, especially around the policies that relate to this. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Wiley.
So talking about option one then, it's $30,000. Is there any possibility that there's going to be additional infrastructure required?
Through the chair, the cost of the heat exchanger is actually $20,000, including delivery, PST. It's supposed to come from Ontario. We're anticipating, the installation costs are hard to determine when we don't have the piece of equipment right here in our possession, so we can't speak to the contractors who would install it. But that's where the additional $10,000 would be that buffer for the installation of it.
I just noticed that option two said it'll need additional infrastructure. Is this one not, there's no anticipation of that?
Option two, we don't have a final cost on that, on the installation of that used heat exchanger, because we're waiting for some quotes. It requires specialized piping, insulated piping that would have to be run from a different area of the pool down into the mechanical room and then connected into the current infrastructure. What we've been told is the size of that used heat exchanger is approximately the size of a pallet. So we'd have to be looking at to where it could be properly located in a safe manner within the existing aquatic center, and then, like I said, piped down and connected into the pool's infrastructure.
And then option one will have no additional infrastructure comparable.
Very minimal. It actually through the chair, it goes from a 4-inch pipe to a 2-inch. So we're looking at some small plumbing adjustments. We're already looking into that, and that would hopefully be included in, the plan is to be included in this installation cost, where we'd have some isolation valves that we, if this ever happened again, we wouldn't have to do the intensive maintenance to the or repairs to the current infrastructure at the pool. When the pool was designed 20 years ago, the heat exchanger was not included with an isolation valve, and so it required the draining of the entire HVAC system, the coolant, i.e. the glycol. We store it and we try to recapture as much as we can, but as a part of the installation of this new piece of equipment, it would include some shutoff valves so that we could isolate different sections of the pool much more efficiently than we are now.
Okay, thank you. When was the pool originally scheduled to reopen?
Through the chair, we had a tentative opening to accommodate the Tri-Diva Triathlon, which was just just Sunday. But then that would require, and then after that, we'd have some intensive staff training for our new lifeguards and things like that. So our anticipated opening was early October, but now obviously things have been delayed, and we're hoping that our initial quotes from the manufacturer for this new heat exchanger would be a 2-week turnaround, but they can't guarantee anything. So that's why it's the 2 to 4 week plus some staff training time.
So when would the latest date the pool would reopen?
Through the chair, I'd hate to labor a guess based on supply chain issues and the challenges of delivery of this, but our goal we hope that with this frame and plate one would be at the end of October, early November.
Wow. Okay, so that leads to the next question. I assume I know the answer is communications is going to be all over this. Could I have some examples of how communications will reach out to the community with this information?
Well, we would take different communications approaches. I mean, we'll be very active on social media with it, and as well, probably in the local papers as well. Yeah, but we do understand we have to do broad communications on this and frequent as well to make sure everybody understands. And obviously, we'll have to be explaining in a simplified version the why behind it as well, what happened and what we've done. And as you said, overall, we can go with something that's not tried and tested that needs a lot of modification sooner. We can go with this at 2 to 4 weeks, or we can replace it with what we had, which, again, we're looking at 50 weeks. So, next Labor Day almost sort of idea. So that's why we're going with this path, something that we feel will have more reliability, but a minor impact to schedule as well.
And hopefully the local papers are watching this right now and they can do an article for us. If you're out there, shout out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wiley, and thank you, CAO Scoble. Councillor Langmaid.
Thank you for giving me another opportunity to ask questions, Your Worship. I just have one follow-up question, and that is, are there any other associated parts of this mechanical system that are also 20 years old and might be reaching their end of life that we could gain efficiencies from replacing now while we already have the pool down? Is there anything there that we might be able to take advantage of?
Through the chair, yes, Councillor Langley, we're upgrading, as I indicated, a lot of additional valves and infrastructure so that we can isolate specific sections of the pool. While the original infrastructure all required through one pipe and through the one heat exchanger, and then it would isolate. What we're planning, and hopefully that work will start tomorrow, is an ability to isolate different sections of the pool at different times, so that if one area or one basin goes down, for example, the hot tub, it will not impact both the lap pool and or the kiddie pool, for example.
Sorry, just to make sure I understand. So the heat exchanger is basically this, and the valves and such are mainly make up this entire system. There aren't any other components besides the heat exchanger and valves that might be reaching an end of life that we could replace now and take advantage of this opportunity.
Sorry, the only other infrastructure that would need to be upgraded it would be the heat exchangers for the individual basins of the hot tub and the kiddie pool. But now that we know the lifespan of those and we have an approximately 5-year window left on those, we can order those. And by doing the infrastructure changes that we have planned, we can wait. And then once those elements are in, then we can isolate that section, do our necessary replacement or repairs, and then upgrade it without a major loss of service to this community.
So going with option one would not only give us a quicker start time now, it would also help us in the future with future maintenance projects that are already planned.
That's correct.
Cool. And the other follow-up question I have is, have we done an assessment on just the impact to the community? Are there swimming lessons that are how many people might be impacted by canceled swimming lessons and things like that, just so we can kind of get an idea of the scope of the impact?
Through the chair, we haven't actually posted any swimming lessons. We've had some preliminary conversations with the school boards who do a majority of our lessons. We've had some conversations with the couple user groups just to advise them that we're looking at some potential delays. Now, obviously, now that we've determined the problem, we'll be in direct communication with them. Through the pool staff, they've alerted me that if we get the part ordered tomorrow and we hit our 2-week window, we'd still be able to offer almost a full capacity of school board lessons through the community. Swimming lessons will be a little bit different than they were in past years because of some lifeguard staffing challenges that we faced, but we anticipate that would also be rectified as the year progresses.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Langmaid. Deputy Mayor Peterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would move that council approve the reallocation of $30,000 from the 2022 capital budget for the purchase and installation of a new heat exchanger for the Aquatic Center.
Thank you for that motion. And is there any further discussion on the motion? Then I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And the motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. That brings us to item 4. We have no bylaws to discuss, and we have no in-camera items. So at this time, I will adjourn the meeting, and I declare the meeting for September 20th, 2022, adjourned at 6:17. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark, yes.